Yeah.
All right. So, hello and welcome to another episode of Chaos at London. This is Page Edition. Tonight we have the Tribunal, formerly a Kalis, now Nicodemus, the head of, or the self-proclaimed new head of House Diedne. Um, so we shall start with him. Nicodemus, a guard detail has been provided to you uh, to ensure that you get to the warehouse safely, and also so that you actually go to the warehouse. Um, Stephen will be leading it, and he and three other hermetics will uh, arrive at your little cozy cove and wait for you to be prepared.
All right, so they're picking me up right from the manor house.
Yes.
I would be ready on time and would go accordingly.
They take you out to just a general average vehicle. Once one of them holds open the door for you. Once you enter the vehicle proper, you'll notice it's far bigger on the inside and seems to be self-driving. The rest of them will pile in alongside you. Um, they've given the address to any of your followers to also attend. But then they will drive you there, take you in through the back, and put you in a small waiting room. Pretty simple. It's got like a plain wooden chair, a dim light bulb for lighting. That's about it. Maybe like a pitcher of water and some cups. And they will tell you to wait here until you are called.
You'll wait.
Alright, so the rest of you, whenever you arrive, will see not like a real crowd outside this warehouse, but a fairly large group of people waiting outside and waiting for admittance. Um, there will be some security guards at the front who will be waving people in. So I'll go ahead and let the others do their intro and what they're doing, why they're here, etc. etc.
Well, Hannah will have meditated beforehand, and she's wearing her typical really, really dark heron blue jacket, some black baggy pants with her running shoes, if you know what I mean there, Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll just kind of be pulling in around the crowd, making sure that there's using her correspondence or her 360 vision to kind of check around and seeing if there's any other activity besides the individuals that are here. And she'll kind
It
of
doesn't seem to be. Just
okay.
kind of a crowd of people. Yeah.
So she'll just kind of start pulling around and seeing if she can't find any familiar faces.
I mean, you'll see some hermetics that you knew from the chantry. Jason will be there, just kind of chilling out. Sort of that.
Okay, so she'll hang with Jason then. And she'll probably just ask him, just say hey, see how he's doing.
He just kind of does that, like, that kind of exasperated sigh of someone who's having to do a lot of bullshit when it's not their job.
She pats him on the shoulder.
Xavier will step out of a car, leaning on his cane as you hear the kind of the of his respirator. His eyes will flick around the crowd, identifying faces from his memory bank that is located in the optical computer. So, once he meets you, he will know you because he'll remember the face. But he will walk into the crowd, leaning on his cane. And he's been a fixture in London for years, so he probably knows most of the people here, at least by name. So, he'll start striking up a casual, the casual conversation of, yes, good to see you again, terrible business, kind of,
That sort of thing.
Sophia arrives by car and makes her way inside. Obviously, not been here before, and I think he's also doing the look for the familiar faces thing. And it looks like she possibly, trying to keep her, not make a scene, not do it, not attract any particular attention, which is not always easy for someone of her appearance.
She's gonna look over to Sophia and kind of waddle on over. I don't know why I keep saying that these days. And she'll just say, "Oh, Sophia, what are you doing over here?"
Oh, hello again. Wow, I heard there was this big tribunal. And it was open, so I thought I should come and find out what all the fuss was about.
Well, you're about to see something fairly interesting, but I'm surprised that it was a fully open tribunal, but fair enough. Let's see what comes of it.
Well, do you know what it's about? I've only heard the rumor.
Well, it has to do with our chantry that is no longer around.
Xavier will kind of walk over, once again leaning on his cane. He will say, Miss Black, I didn't expect to see you here this evening.
Oh. No? I try to get out and about. It seemed like a good way to meet the great and the good of London.
I can't remember, Adam. Did Xavier in his time meet Hannah, or did he not?
I think one time, I actually saw his sanctum, didn't I?
Oh yes, you did, very briefly.
Yeah, very briefly.
He will extend the hand to Hannah, and he'll say, "It is a pleasure to see you again, my dear."
Kind of gulp a little bit, and she'll, shake his hand. And say, "Oh, nice to meet you." And she'll kind of. It seems like she's trying to struggle for the name. Xavier. I remember correctly. It's been a while.
With any luck, he will look down he'll look down to a small device in his hand that tells him the time. Literally, he could have said he had a watch, but nah, he's an Aetherite. Fuck that. And he'll say, "With any luck, from what I'm led to understand, this is open and shut. It should be dealt with within an hour or so."
No, they've caught the fellow then, have they?
I believe they turned themselves in.
Oh.
Indeed.
So, go ahead.
No, he just said indeed, so yep.
So at this point, a tall Asian woman in monk robes, wearing a baseball bat tied to her hip, walks in. Hannah! And runs up and gives her a hug.
Jojo! And she'll just go and give him a big hug.
Oh, it's been a minute.
It's been a long time. Glad you made it out okay, so you still got your trusty bat.
Oh, I mean, my mentor did pass it on to me because he was getting tired of me and just kind of wanted me out. But that's no big deal. I mean, that's him.
Fair enough, so I didn't think you'd be in on this.
Oh yeah, I scribed the entire situation. I even got a little recording of it to display for everybody.
Well, that should be helpful.
Sure.
By the way, Sophia, Xavier, have you guys met Jojo?
I had the pleasure.
You guys, Xavier, Sophia, Jojo, Xavier, and Sophia.
Oh hey, no, quick question. Did you guys ever kill the Lich?
Hannah just kind of has that look of she probably forgot.
Would that be that killed Odin?
Yeah, he used to be our landlord.
I wasn't involved, but someone told me he was killed, yes.
Okay,
Somewhere out in the universe, Gravedigger's kicking and screaming, going, "My Lichmas gift is forever tainted." Continue.
So, this will probably be short and sweet. Jojo will say.
I'm
More than
inclined to
likely.
agree. Realistically, it's just a matter of his sentencing, as guilt is beyond the pale of doubt.
Well, who knows? Sometimes people have stuff up their sleeves. Never like to assume that things will be short. They usually never are.
Is there a tally of the casualties?
Would I have gotten
Did
those,
Jojo
Tiger?
have that? Since he tried it?
The only person that died was the head of the chantry. The rest of them managed to make it
Oh,
out.
Hannah would have been relieved to hear that. She thought for a while that they were dead.
There was one casualty.
Oh.
Was the chantry itself because particularly if it's a big hermetic chantry, was all of the really, really valuable stuff in the chantry completely destroyed?
Yes.
It's gone. No, it's not known if it's destroyed or if it was taken, but it is gone.
Valid.
Excellent. Although, all we know is that it disappeared. Whether it's destroyed or something else, we don't know.
It got eaten.
Yes, I think I saw the recording. Eaten by what exactly?
A spirit.
Lovely. He just sighs. Well, I guess we better start heading inside. Seems like it's on us next. She kind of tilts her head and starts heading on inside to the warehouse.
Indeed. Let us see what happens, shall we? You will proceed, leaning on his cane. Oh, by the way, are our weapons taken off us, or are they not?
Yes, they are.
Okay, in that case, he'll give up the cane, he'll give up the guns, he'll just kind of... Xavier will do that comedic thing of taking off all of the armaments.
Okay.
Hannah will
Now, question:
get her gun.
is your cane actually a weapon, or is it just like a cane?
No, he hasn't actually made his cane into anything, so he'll keep the cane.
Yeah, because they aren't going to deprive someone of their walking stick.
Excellent. I swear to God, I will go Tech Priest Mechanicus on this shit.
And I'm guessing wands aren't counted because they're usually in hermetic terms symbolized for votes and stuff like that.
Oh, quick!
Yeah.
Who has a prom set on?
Moi.
Me.
That bat that's hanging off of Jojo's hip. Holy fuck! Is how to put it lightly.
The resonance off of that bat, the closest feeling you could get would be intergalactic.
Oh, Hannah likes that. So she'll look at Jojo and just say, she kind of looks at the back going, nice.
It was a pretty good bribe to get me out of the Akashic Chantry of Hong Kong.
I'd say so. Wow. Got quite the resonance on there.
Well, yeah. This baby could go on for miles and she'll twirl it around her head and do a mock swing.
Whoa! She dodges out of the way.
A random Akashic walking by will duck out of the way and turn to Jojo and say, "Please don't do that.
Don't walk into my bat.
Don't swing it around."
It's a bat. It's what it's supposed to do. She'll say,
to be fair, not all the time.
Yeah.
Xavier kind of does the thing that Xavier always seems to have to do. Contemplates how childish everyone else is and proceeds to go and be an adult.
Hannah just sighs and shakes her head.
When she hands the bat over to the other people, she's going to hold out her hands as well.
outside, they will put down a box, and on the front of the box it says "Living Weapons," and they will look at you and say, "Get in the box."
But just enchanted them. It's so
Get-
much.
If you're gonna make a joke, get in the box.
She'll stand in the box. She won't sit.
Just gonna slide around on the box.
So where is this taking place, by the way? Sorry.
This is a warehouse that has been made known to the general mage populace. Presumably, you could have heard it from one of the hollow ones at the chantry.
Now that I speak a modicum of English.
Yeah. But yeah, you definitely, whenever you're coming up to it, you'll see the massive amounts of mages. Some are obvious mages, they showed up in hermetic robes or in steampunk bullshit, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's people now starting to file in. Since Adib is arriving a little late, he will notice about 9 figures entering the building from the side. So
I'm just gonna go to where we're supposed to be seated.
it does seem to be separated. Each tradition gets their own spot, and then the non-tradition mages are just kind of all lumped together. Just fuck them, basically.
Important question, because I can't. I know it's in the book, but I can't remember the actual proper SCAT for this. Are the actual mages of the tradition? Are we allowed to talk? As in, can we actually address people, or how does it work? Or do we just
there will be a point where any mage is allowed to bring up their own input, whether it's regarding the situation or the character of the witness or that sort of thing. But until then, they would prefer that people keep quiet.
That's valid.
And those of you of traditions lore, will know there. Will know that for sure. Those that they don't recognize as tradition mages will be informed of that as they're going in. So nobody gets murked for no reason.
Jojo's gonna point at the area for the non-tradition mages that's all mixed together. All she's going to do when she points at it is say, "Rude," looking at the people up front.
A hermetic sneers and shrugs.
I'm gonna make that roll now, Tiger.
Okay.
What should the appropriate diff be to be impressive here? Mundane, not magical. Promise.
Mundane. Okay, let me look at your sheet and see what you got.
Yeah, usually charisma expression.
Yeah, that'll probably work. We'll go with that for now.
Okay. What's the base diff?
I'm gonna keep it standard.
Cool. Burning a willpower. Well then. That would be a total of 6 successes.
Nice.
Meow.
Pretty much.
You're epic.
Well, Adib has freshly groomed himself since this is the first official / formal occasion he's had any reason to be at since he ever remembers. And he's going to show up, probably on foot, because, he could ask to be teleported, but that's just, why show off? So instead, Exactly. So instead, he cleans himself up and shows off his clothing. Better than magic, right? He's just going to walk in, and I assume he can see various people in different seating areas.
Yes. You'll see the only one. You'll see Hannah sitting with a bunch of mages, and you've met Hannah, I believe. and you've met Sophia, and you've met Xavier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'll see Sophia sitting in with a bunch of what appears to be a bunch of assorted people, compared to the rest of the sections that seem to be. Well, they're not all dressed exactly the same. There's definitely a theme.
As in, there's
I'll
a club
probably
of
be-
all. There's a club with people with weird haircuts.
Probably the direction I'm having to go in. I assume that they would ask me for my dagger, which is totally fine. I mean, hell, it glows from Prime signature.
Yes.
Do they ask for the ring?
One of them will look at it, kind of squint at you, and they'll say, "Do you speak English, or is there a different language you prefer?"
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what is in your ring. Please do not bring it out during the tribunal.
He raises the ring and just says in his own language, "Stay inside."
You get a slightly sad. In your head, you hear a slightly sad sounding. "Ah."
And he just nods at the guy.
Thank you.
And he toddles over to the hollow ones.
So, it is at this point that we're going to cut back to Nicodemus. Stephen will enter the room once again, look at you and say, "All right, it's time. You ready?"
He will look at him and say, "Make sure you bring the dagger that I turned over to you when you picked me up."
He'll just kind of give the nod and motion for you to follow him, leading you to the way, or to the central room.
And he will he'll follow him.
So you were led into, like, it's a warehouse. There have been kind of stands set up with chairs in a circular motion. Most of them are a bunch of assorted people, as I described earlier. But there will be one section that is just 9 empty chairs for now, and nobody is anywhere near them. You can probably assume that's where the head honchos are going to sit.
JoJo's probably scooching her way to the front in the box.
Yeah, you'll see JoJo. You'll see a fairly tall, well-built Asian woman in a cardboard box that says "Living Weapons" on it, scooching her way. But Stephen will lead you to a similar chair as I previously described as the plain wooden chair, sitting in the center of the circle. And he will say, "You may sit here till the tribunal arrives."
Oh, he will sit.
And if you look out into the crowd, you'll see your followers are not sitting with they're sitting with the Order of Hermes, but they're also kind of like off to the side, just with themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hannah's ex-Misk, so she's probably sitting more towards that edge, isn't she?
It's really just like that specific group is wanting to sit with themselves while still
Oh,
acknowledging that they are part of the Order.
Okay.
Now, Nathan has a good question. He has aura perception up. What's everyone's aura looking like? Besides the obvious, everybody looks like a mage.
Yeah, I mean, just tell me if it's really outlandish. Don't. It's too many people to worry about small details.
JoJo's aura is full of concentration right now.
With Hannah, it's filled with concentration, concern, like a purplish concern, And there's a slight flickering of her aura, although it seems to be very dispersed, so it's not happening. The delay between each flicker is very long. And she seems very sad. There's a lot of silver in her aura.
As cold an aura as you have ever seen.
But just like last time, then.
Yes, essentially, it doesn't change. No, actually, there's a slight, tiny undercurrent of sadistic joy. I think I'm going to get to watch somebody be executed today. It's a good day.
Curiosity and caution over here.
Yeah. Okay. So, has the accused got anything weird and wonderful in their aura?
I'll let John answer that question.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear him entirely.
Oh, he's asking, do you have anything weird in your aura?
Nope. Resolve, stoicism.
Okay. Just standard mage, nothing like. Okay, that's notable. Right.
Okay. At this point, Stephen will walk forward to the entrance of the 9 seats. He will turn around on his heel. He'll look at everyone and say, "We will now rise for the tribunal. Please rise from your chairs until such time as they tell you to be seated."
I rise.
Up I get.
And everybody, if anybody doesn't stand, say so. Otherwise, I'm gonna just. Right. So we don't have to. So 9 figures will lead into the room. A man in a baseball coach uniform, kind of a short-looking Chinese man. A figure dressed entirely in a brown robe with it over his head, covering everything except for his left eye. An older-looking woman wearing hermetic robe, her hair done up and a stern expression on her face, some leather lines on her face, like she's kind of been through some shit. A younger-looking individual, dressed in a t-shirt and jeans, and with stylized sunglasses made to appear like 3D glasses. A very steampunk-looking classic gentleman. Looks like he'd be more comfortable off hunting, like in the far distant jungle or something. Pretty relaxed-looking woman who has like one of the long cigarette holders hanging out of her mouth. I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, the forbidden. No. Oh yeah, that's right. Young man dressed in furs. Looks like he's hunted them himself. And anyone with spirit sight will notice he does have a couple spirits following him. They're just kind of just following, not really doing anything. And then a a fairly old-looking priest, who you probably assume is Celestial Chorus. And they will walk forward, arrange themselves according to their seats and of the traditions. And then Stephen will look at everyone and say, "You may now sit. We'll commence."
And we'll pull out our notebook and start to write all this shit down. At least a good chunk of it.
Jojo will step up. Alright, who's ready for information download?
Val will look at Jojo. first we should hear what the man is accused of and how he pleads. So, what is the man accused of? Stephen will step up and respond with betrayal, murder, recklessness, theft, and vandalism. And endangerment. Sorry, I missed that one.
Jojo kind of raises a finger. Also, the exposure of magic, Stephen.
That's what recklessness is.
I don't know your order of Hermes.
That was
Cool.
about. Right, never mind, Stephen. Okay. The older-looking woman will respond, and how do you plead?
He turns. First, he kind of looks at the rest of the crowd, and then he looks each of them directly in the eye, and he says, "I'm guilty of none of these things."
Very well. Who all has a mind shield up?
I do.
Lol, what's a mind shield?
Neither do I.
3
Nick-
successes on mine.
Nicodemus has one with 13 successes.
Okay. Nicodemus, this effect is actually... No. Yes, sorry. Due to your strangeness flaw, this effect is actually coming from you.
Which one of my flaws?
Strangeness. It's the one that lets me just roll your arete once per scene, and if it succeeds, I get to do stuff according to your affinity sphere.
Sure. Well, I added a couple new flaws, so I wanted to make sure I knew which one we were looking at.
Gotcha. No problem. So, as he says that, those without mind shields will feel like it's almost like a wave of not really dread, but just will coming from him. Like he's forcing his will and his resolve around the entire area.
I'm going to assume there's a general uproar from the audience at this point because mages will not take this well.
Yeah, but we've just seen him assault us with magic on the prime site. That's okay. And we've
Hang on. I'm just kind of waiting to Tiger, what is the general kind of ethos of the crowd who don't have mind shields? Like, are people getting to their feet and shouting, or what's the?
People can definitely. So those without mind shields will kind of like they kind of get where he's coming from. They're not sure if they really. However, those with mind shields will kind of start getting up and yelling and getting in an uproar. At which point the young woman with the cigarette holder will raise a hand, and all of them will just kind of do that oh dear look, and just kind of sit back down and quiet down. And she'll look at Nicodemus. That's a pretty powerful effect you put off there. Do you mean to do that? I understand sometimes magic gets a little away from us in trying times.
He will look at her and very calmly he says, "I have worked no conscious effort of will since I entered this."
Alright. And for Nathan, that I don't believe either of his statements will ping under Ring of Truth. He is not told something that he does not believe.
fine. Okay.
Hannah's just kind of studying him scrupulously. Scrupulously, is that a word? Don't worry about it.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
All words are made up anyway.
She'll take like a long drag off her cigarette holder and say, "All right, no problem then. So now I'd like to see what exactly happened, Miss JoJo, if you wouldn't mind."
All right. And she kind of just scooches the box to where she's turned sideways. And like,
Let's just look at you. You can step out of the box.
okay, I was just expecting a forces shield on my hand, so, you know, common sense, right? And she like kicks the box aside, and what she's gonna use is like forces to kind of like display video and color of exactly what she described, and we discussed it, right? So, I am going to send you guys the link that I've sent in the side chat is exactly all the details you get from this. Every detail.
Obviously, we can't really
That's
watch the scene for this. Yeah, for this. So I'm going to recap. John, if I miss anything, let me know. It's been a minute since we did that scene. But Achilles walked in, flanked by 2 other individuals, met with the secretary who instructed him to go to the head of the chantry, a man by the name of Jacobson. They talked about various things. I can't remember. Does your hologram do sound with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I lowered the volume of any background noise, amplified the volume of talking, and she would have thrown spirit in there as well.
Okay.
Starting the spirit world.
Yes. Kalos will mention the making of a deal with the Son of Pride so that 1 mage will be sacrificed and Pride won't affect anybody else, period. That was the deal, right, John?
Correct. One mage would be brought for possession, and under that agreement, Pride would possess the first mage that he brought, that was brought to him by Achilles, and he would possess no other individual.
At this, you can see the an outpouring of energy from Jacobson. A bookshelf will fall. Achilles barely making it out of the way in time. But Jacobson looks furious. More discussions are had, essentially. Basically, Kalis wanted the order to support House Diedme to bring them back and work for the good of the order, if I remember right.
Correct.
A fight breaks out. Steven shows up, listens to Achilles, tries to get both sides. There is another focusing of will from Jacobson. He's quickly stopped, and then Achilles gives him an ultimatum. Either support House Diedme or be destroyed along with the Chantry, or something to that effect.
Specifically, it's that the Chantry and Jacobson would be consumed.
Correct.
In order to enact the restoration.
Yes. And then Jacobson steadfastly refused, at which point this triggered an unleashing. And a forest green looking figure will appear from out of nowhere, seemingly manifesting itself.
Out of character, they would have been able to see the figure the entire time with the spirit also applied?
Yeah, you're right. My bad. So yes, you would have seen it, and then you'll see it pull off the map. And I'm going to roll a fate die real quick to see people need to roll.
I would have paused it right before that happened. It'd be like, those with low constitution may want to look away.
Okay.
Or bolster yourselves.
Yeah.
And then resume.
It'll pull off its mask, revealing just a void for a face, teeth circling around on the inside. And it'll reach into its mouth, pull it open, and start inhaling as vines come up and grip the chantry and start tearing it down. Eventually, the chantry is destroyed and absorbed into the spirit, along with Jacobson, while every other hermetic in the building emerges unscathed. And at that point, the hologram will end, I believe. I think that was it. The priest kind of look up a little nervously. That's a bit of oh dear. How do you justify these actions?
Yeah. Turns to look at them. And he says, I acted in both my own defense and the defense of the Code of Hermes.
Hannah tilts her head at that.
The initial assault, as well as refusal to aid, was Jacobson's violation of the first code, everlasting loyalty to the order and its members. It also was a refusal of the third code, I shall not deprive any order mage of magical power, nor through action or inaction attempt to bring harm to an order mage, except in justly declared and open certimen. No certimen had been declared, nor was grounds necessarily recognized. Thus, an assault upon me, who had been acknowledged as an order mage, was an attempt to deprive me of power and a violation of loyalty.
The younger looking dude wearing the sunglasses will say, yeah, what about all the rest of the people living at the chantry though?
You will notice that my declaration specifically declared an individual and the chantry. It was carefully worded to be enacted to not affect other individuals.
Hannah will raise her hand. Yes. But then again, spirits can always interpret things in strange ways. They may have assumed not just they could have just assumed the chantry, but everyone else inside of it as well.
The magic I enacted was not the magic of a spirit. It was fey magic. It was the power of a contractual oath between myself and the fey realm.
Does he believe what he's saying to be true?
Yes, he unleashed contract.
The older looking woman with the weather line will say, is not a part of the oath Hermes, also to avoid consorting with the Fae.
It is to not anger the Fae, nor consort with devils nor undead.
And have your actions caused anger to the Fae in the city?
I believe they may have initially. I will, once this has been resolved, of course, go before them as well. However, it was deferred to the tribunal as first point of action.
One of the, we'll say the baseball coach-looking man will nod his head to Sophia.
I was present at the crossroads a little while after this, when the fair folk known as the Count arrived and was most irate about this affair and pronounced a death sentence upon the parties they believed responsible. So I would say they are clearly angry.
I witnessed that. I was there to witness this as well, with Sophia.
As a point of order, I was myself present, and the declaration was death sentence if I was within their territory. Otherwise, it would be deferred to this tribunal.
Thank you. So they are clearly angry.
And as I said, that will indeed be a discussion to be had. However, I can also point back that while they are angry at the magic being unleashed in such fashion, Jacobson was given adequate warning. It could be argued that the fact the unleashing occurred is a result of his choice.
You were the one who
ended
up using the magic.
I don't think that John was done with what he was saying, and then Adam tried to say something.
Yeah, I thought he was done, but then my bad. Was there anything else you wanted to say, John?
He just will continue to clarify. While the magic was indeed enacted by me, it was as a result of another's actions. Had he agreed to abide by the codes and support myself and my house, no magic would have occurred. The chantry would remain standing where it was, and the Fae would have had no complaints.
And what were you saying, Adam?
No, John heard what I said, but basically he was addressing what Hannah said, which was you were still the one who, regardless of who you think was the result of it, you were still the one who decided at the end of the day to do it. So John was just responding to that.
Okay.
The steampunk-looking hunter man it's kind of say, well, it's an powerful effect, I'll give you that. But what's the point of destroying an entire chantry along with one man just because the man pissed you off?
The word destruction keeps being used. A physical building was destroyed. That power has remained with the Order of Hermes through the patron spirit of House Didney. Additionally, our chantry, empowered and thereby holding that power, being of equivalent strength, has been opened to any and all hermetics. Our chantry additionally offers more resources, as it was constructed near a wellspring and has the patron in residence. So if you look at Chantry as a physical structure, yes, it was destroyed. But we must recognize that that building was no more Chantry than this warehouse. It was the power and the knowledge that was held within it. Power and knowledge that remains with the Order of Hermes, located in the House Diadne Manor.
Jojo will raise a finger right quick. Did you ask the lady herself?
He turns and looks at her and says, Diadne has been silent to our house since the traitorous Tremere turned the order against us. Our house was left to flounder on its own, and on its own it has been rebuilt. As we rebuilt, we sought a patron that genuinely cared for our well-being.
Jojo is going to look at Lady DNA. What are your thoughts on this?
A woman in the hermetic section will stand up. Let's see. I was completely unaware that this man was using the name of my house, although I've only recently come into the city. When you say the patron spirit of House Diadne, to whom are you referring to?
Our patron spirit, as he has continued to grow with our house, has taken on different visages and names, as is natural for a spirit who becomes regularly empowered. His current name, after his empowerment at the Chantry, is one many of us, especially those of us who know our lore and legends of the Order, are familiar with. Because our patron spirit has taken on the manifestation of the Ascension Warrior himself. Out of character, if I try and pronounce it, I'm sure I'll get it wrong.
Halo.
Holy fuck, Halo?
Halo. That is what his current. Yeah, that's basically what he said.
Hannah's eyes are white.
Those with hermetic lore would know that. I'd give it to people with traditions lore as well, but beyond that, people probably won't know who that is. That sound fair to everybody?
So what was that?
That sounds fair to me. That if you have the Order of Hermes lore or Traditions lore, you'll know about Halo and who Halo is, the Great Betrayer.
I don't know. Oh well.
He will turn and look look at them and say, this is the same patron that aided and empowered me to enact vengeance and permanent destruction of the Lich responsible for the death of Odin.
The woman who's now been fairly well identified as Lady Diadne will say, dear, I think your heart is in the right place, but you're just terribly misguided on the practice of it. And I do want to note, just in case there's any confusion, this is not the hermetic that is sitting on the tribunal. This is somebody who's sitting in the crowd. Just point that out.
Okay.
The fact that you're throwing in with a being calling itself Halo is worrisome to put the least. You've argued against the destruction of the Chantry, so I'm not bringing up that point, but the wonders stored there, the objects that belong to other hermetics that lived there, all of them having to find a new place to stay if they were unwilling to go to yours. And it's understandable why they'd be unwilling to go to yours in some cases. How do you justify all of that?
He will stop and look at her. If they have chosen to forsake an opportunity, I cannot be held accountable. There are many here who can testify that even prior to this action, I offered more support and opportunity than they were receiving from the Chantry itself. I acted regularly and attempted to act through diplomacy and cooperation to build a stronger order. Those attempts were not only rebuffed, but violently thrown back in my face. Was my action extreme? Absolutely. I acted with, at that time, the authority of an order mage who had not only witnessed but been direct victim of multiple violations of the Code of Hermes. And while my actions may have been radical, they were done as well out of immediate necessity. He gestures to Stephen and says, I was not the one to call for reinforcements. I did not have reinforcements, standbys, coming to act. I did not have an option to request a tribunal for my attacker. Had I not acted in my own defense, perhaps there would have been a tribunal for him, but it wouldn't have mattered a whole lot to me, nor indeed for those who have faithfully supported and studied under me. It would have been a betrayal to my house, my students, my friends, and to what the order is proclaimed to stand for. For had I not acted immediately, I would have violated the second code, which is I shall not, through action or inaction, endanger the order. Yes, that code also involves angering the Fae. However, this was a lesser violation than causing the direct endangerment of a large number of acolytes, as well as a fledgling refounded house. We talk of magic items, places to sleep. If they need residency, they could have certainly sought it. When Stephen approached me to discuss the tribunal, I told him blatantly I would attend. I had nothing to hide. I even offered him a place in the Chantry if he needed it. He opted to reside elsewhere, and I reaffirmed to him that should he need anything from the order, we were there for him. Magical items and trinkets can be reproduced. The power still exists. The energies have not been lost. Indeed, the Chantry sits at a wellspring. There is more power. We talk about physical objects as if they were the defining feature of who we are. The order is built on knowledge and power, and those have not only been retained but have grown. The order was founded on a code, a body of law that was upheld as best I could, given the circumstances and the immediacy of the necessary action. So yes, you might feel my actions were misguided. I will admit they were radical, but they were also necessary and the only feasible option if I were to maintain in good standing my own character.
One of the people standing up or sitting up at the stands, one of the tribunal members, the young man in the furs, will say, "You've argued against just about every crime you've been accused of except for recklessness. You've openly admitted to using Fey magic. And from what I could tell, it was in such a way that it's very easy to lose control of. What is your defense against the charge of recklessness?"
That given the situation and the limited options available to me, it was the least reckless course of action I could take. I kept the magic focused first and foremost upon myself. Specifically, the declaration was a contract between myself and the magics of the Fae. I swore an oath on myself, and I bound myself to that oath. This was an attempt to mitigate any fallout should that magic run awry, because I will admit that's possible. Leashing it to myself would have at least kept myself as the primary focus. I carefully worded it to isolate and eliminate bystanders, to keep it focused on a physical structure and a single identifiable threat. While Stephen had demonstrated hostility towards me, I kept him out of it, as I did not feel it would be appropriate. It would be reckless to include those who were not confirmed definite threats. My alternative was to let the head of a chantry, one who was supposed to be a master and a leader, assault me to the point of death within a chantry, which is supposed to be a safe haven for those of our order. After I approached him, I was forthcoming about having made a difficult decision and took it upon myself, and I asked for aid.
I'm guessing none of this is coming up on the lie detection.
One thing that definitely will is when he said he didn't go there with standbys or reinforcements because he clearly had 2 other people going with him.
2 other people and a spirit.
Yes.
I thought I had said he did not call reinforcements.
You mentioned that he did not have standbys.
Well, I could see how the wording of that would make it not true. It was not necessary. His intention was not to lie, but yeah, you're right. The way he worded it was inaccurate.
Yeah.
Hannah just seems to be thinking this over really hard.
He will look at the tribunal and he will say, I do not pretend that I took necessarily the perfect course of action. I took what I felt was the best course of action when I had very few options. I had no choice to withdraw and consider alternative courses. I did my best to ensure that my actions maintained the code and ideals that we hold dear, that my actions did not have any more significant than necessary damage, and that should they fail, I took best effort to ensure that that failure would be put upon myself and not anyone else. After these actions, when Stephen felt it was necessary that I be judged for them and that we have this tribunal, I did not dispute him. I recognized that what I had done was radical and would need someone else to weigh in an attempt to avoid this, nor shirk responsibility, nor hide what it is I did.
Sophia will get the nod from. We'll say the one with the cigarette holder this time.
Sorry, I don't quite understand about your code, but you said the person who died assaulted you. Could you just clarify what happened and why he would assault you?
So, out of character, actually, if you remember this, Jonathan's character walked up to the head of the house and said, I have made a deal with Pride to sacrifice one. This is clip notes. I have made a deal with Pride to sacrifice one of the mages, and in order to keep him from corrupting anybody else in the mage population.
Actually, he didn't limit it to mages, but
This is fair.
Okay.
He did specifically mention that he had somebody from the verbena in mind to do the sacrifice.
that he did. He said he had a candidate that he felt would be a good choice for that situation. It was someone outside the order, therefore not violating the code.
What?
But there's the tradition. But then there's the tradition code.
Yeah. Can I ask who you were planning to sacrifice? I have some made of friends.
Is he asking that in character in the middle of the tribunal?
Yeah, I've had my hand up. Yes.
Okay.
So what was the nature of the assault, and who were you planning to sacrifice?
Well, the initial assault began with violent use of magic to hurl furniture at me, furniture that would have certainly at least damaged bones, if not killed me immediately, had I not been able to dodge it. It continued with magical and physical assault. As for a candidate, I did have one specific one in mind. He is not present tonight, and I do not feel that's pertinent here. I will certainly discuss it with the tribunal should they feel it necessary. But it seems to be somewhat of a moot matter. I came asking for input on that candidate from my master and mentor. I instead received, well, he literally threw the book at me, a whole shelf of them.
The guy in the sunglasses said, yeah, he threw a bunch of books at you. And the rest of the tribunal will just kind of turn around and look at him. And he'll just kind of shrink back into his seat.
Hannah will kind of look over to raise her hand. And she would mostly and she would be wanting to, and she's mostly looking to the tribunal, to the 9 tradition members.
Okay.
This may be something to discuss. Would you consider pride to be an enemy of ascension? And then she'll just kind of slink back and just kind of let that sit.
That actually brings up a point that I was about to ask. Thank you, Hannah. I think Hannah's met the Akashic Tribunal member. It's the old Akashic chantry head from Hong Kong.
Master, what's his name? Darn.
Master Bao.
Master Bao. Yes.
Yeah. Very, very astute, Hannah, I think. Would you consider it possible that your actions may have been influenced in any way by this deal that you've made with Pride?
Influenced in what manner?
They may have led you to do actions or go in with more confidence than you would normally have.
I have no way of knowing for certain, but I don't believe so. I was confident that my mentor and master would offer insight and guidance, that he would recognize the situation we were in.
Hannah will raise her hand.
She'll get the nod again.
This Verbena that you were planning to sacrifice to Pride, were they aware of the sacrifice?
That was indeed one of the points I brought up to my master seeking guidance, was how to approach that individual or any other prospective individual who may be willing to make that sacrifice. Unfortunately, my discussion was cut short.
I can't remember your name. Kim. What on the video? What was the thing? What actually caused, at least from the perspective of Hannah, when looking at the recording, what caused him to attack? What caused the master to attack him? Like, what was said that just made him lose it?
That John's character planned on sacrificing another tradition member to Pride.
So they weren't aware. Were you going to make them aware of this? And do you honestly think that? And she emphasizes honestly, not with like aggression, but with emphasis. And did you honestly think that they were willing to be a part of that?
Again, this was why I was discussing with my mentor to see if the candidate I had in mind would be a good one to approach, and whether I should make them aware of it. Had I intended to, I had not decided. I had sought guidance from someone who was supposed to guide me. I went there to get advice and guidance. Would they be willing to? I can't say. We didn't get to that point. Would a mage be willing to offer himself up to possession by a spirit if he knew it protected every other individual indefinitely, knowing that my portion of that agreement was I bring a mage for possession. That is it. I did not have to aid him in possessing that mage, nor did I have to permit the possession to continue. I could have brought him a mage for possession and then had a cabal of spirit mages ready to tear him back out. I had met my part of the deal at that point. He was still bound by his, which was never possess anyone else.
Jojo will then gesture that she would like to speak.
You'll get the nod.
Then why didn't you just use yourself, gathering spirit mages from your cult?
He will turn to his followers and he'll say, while my followers are loyal and capable, they have not yet reached a level to be able to bind and unbind spirits. Thus, I would have, again, needed support from others elsewhere. A conversation I did not get to have because I was assaulted.
I mean, it's a pretty common thing to want to punch somebody in the face when talking about human sacrifice.
We speak of this as if they were going to die or cease to be. For those of us who have practiced spirit magic, and I will not pretend to know everyone's expertise, possession does not destroy the mind nor body of the host, nor does removal of that spirit, if done by a capable individual.
That is, if you trust the entity that is being possessed, that is going within the possessed individual.
Tiger, quick question. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes. No problem.
Adib is very quietly going to raise the ring and just whisper into it. Basically, he to summarize, he's basically asking to confirm, is what that guy said true? Can spirits, because I don't have enough knowledge of this, is it basically impossible for a spirit to, via possession, destroy the mind, or permanently make resident by possessing someone? Because gut instinct, that sounds like a horrible thing, and spirits can do horrible things.
I get to roll your familiar dice to figure this out. If your spirit knows this.
Yay! Sorry, guys.
Fun success. The generals say, while most cases, yes, it is theoretically possible that a sufficiently powerful spirit could wipe out someone's entire being, everything that makes them them.
One such as the one that you already met? This pride they speak of?
Possibly.
All right. And you'll go quiet again. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Hannah will just simply look at the whoever has the seed of spirit.
That would be the man in the furs.
Yeah, all she'll be doing is just like once he kind of starts talking about spirit, she'll just be kind of looking at him, like almost cueing him. She's trying to deliver body language that says cueing him to weigh in on this.
He'll look thoughtful for a second. Well, generally, yes, that is true. From what I've heard of these sins, pride being one of them, of course, they are not at all similar to any spirits that I've seen. They exist in the dream time, of course, but they also seem to exist on the other planes simultaneously. That it's entirely possible that they could wipe out somebody. Everything that makes them them, their mind, their memories, their avatar, their hopes and dreams.
Another relevant reason why it would be foolish of me to undertake this alone, and I should seek guidance from my mentor, because while I can operate with some knowledge and capability in the realms of the Fae and spirits, there are, as you mentioned, other things to consider.
We are not denying that Jacobson's actions were rash and uncalled for. So don't worry about that.
No, but it seems we are attempting to discern the truthfulness of conversations I never had the opportunity to have.
This is fair. Would you be willing to undergo a spiritual, I don't think how to phrase it, scanning, I suppose, as much as I hate the term? There is a corruption from pride to you.
I could certainly see the benefit of such a delving. It would also, in the interest of disclosure, make the tribunal aware that I have placed myself and my actions before Hermes himself for judgment. He has agreed that he will come and weigh in, should it be desired, at this tribunal.
Given that the issue seems to be breaking the Hermetic Code, I suppose going to Hermes would not be out of the question. Which aspect of Hermes did you call upon?
Out of character, I'm going to have to check the blue book to see how exactly I worded it, because I think it was Hermes directly, but he emphasized certain traits.
Right. It's just the order of Hermes used them in like 3 different ways.
Yeah, there's like Thoth Hermes, there's Hermes himself, there's the Greek Hermes, there's and then there's Trismegistus, right?
And then the archetype of Hermes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Says, I called upon the fundamental ideal of Hermes, the one known as Mercury, who is both known as Pan and as the father of Pan, a god of tricksters, thieves, heralds, messengers, and traitors. I called upon a spirit who holds contracts and agreements sacred. Felt appropriate as the code is, in effect, a contract and agreement between the order and every member.
Wouldn't it be more appropriate for a god of judgment and fairness?
Perhaps, but Hermes himself does not have such an aspect. Those realms lie under other gods, and I would not presume to put myself, as a follower of Hermes, under the dominion of another god without his approval. If he wishes to pass me on for judgment, that will be his choice.
Hannah will raise her hand.
And we'll get to that.
And just one final question from me. At least for now. Were you aware of the consequences of having a building disappear as sleepers would be present nearby? In essence, all I'm saying is, were you aware that there would be a risk of you breaking the rule of shade by doing so?
I recognized that there was a possibility, yes. Certainly a building collapsing warrants some sort of explanation. Were there methods we could have used to conceal it? Yes. Were there possibly methods I could use to be less blatant? Possibly. In a situation where it was literally life or death, I had limited choices. And again, I had acted under the hope that that magic would not be enacted. That indeed I would get support. And although it would be coerced short term, it would give me the opportunity to build faith and goodwill down the line.
Why threaten to destroy the Chantry? It seems most of your problems hasn't been with the Chantry itself, but with that who was leading it. So why would you threaten the entire Chantry?
This was, again, the core, as it was not destruction, but empowerment. The physical structure was torn down, and that power was used to empower the patron of our house. Because that was what I was seeking from the Chantry, was empowerment for my spirit and house.
Out of character, did JoJo, in the JoJo's recording, didn't it show Nicodemus threatened to have the Chantry be destroyed or consumed or something like that?
Yeah, the exact words was in.
During the unleashing, yes. But JoJo in character will point out that the fact it was not a life and death situation when you chose to destroy the Chantry. In fact, Steven is the one that stopped you from murdering the head of the Chantry, as seen in the video, and she plays it back again.
Stephen interceded and stopped us both from assaulting one another. I certainly did not have the upper hand on a hermetic master. After being assaulted by a bookshelf and then further assaulted by magic.
Was it true that, out of character, is it true that the master attacked first?
Yes.
Okay. But and out of character, before any hands were thrown and the unleashing happened, I remember at a certain point someone mentioned that he threatened the master first.
Yeah. What you guys would have seen is that the master was binding the spirit, that John's character gave the order to eat anything of power in sight. And then John intervened with the threat of support this house or I'll destroy the Chantry in order to stop him.
What were you gonna say, John?
Yeah, that was that. Just to clarify, because he asked, was the threat actually issued first? The threat was issued after.
No, I was asking that out of character.
Okay, but that was issued after the conflict had already begun, as an attempt to cease it. You know, hey, stop now, or it's going to get worse, type of thing.
Guess my question still stands then. Why the chantry? Why use the word consume?
And again, it was a matter of consuming that power to empower our house and chantry. If we were not going to, right, the declaration was specifically he could aid us and help us, or that we would consume their power to empower ourselves.
Out of character, was that specifically what was said?
I'm going to be honest, it wasn't word for word because it's been like
Yeah, it's been a long time, so that's fair.
3 weeks. But if it wasn't, it was very close. I know because we had to reword it because I was clarifying the unleashing. So I remember having to rework it.
So
And I'll just slink back now.
they'll give the nod to Sophia, and before she starts, will say, "This will be the last comment before we'll take a brief recess, so that Hermes may be summoned and asked for his opinion." Then they'll nod to Sophia.
Would you do it again?
He stops and he thinks and he says, I think that would be a multi-part answer. If I were in a situation where I felt that my followers and myself were truly in jeopardy of destruction, I would take radical action to protect them and their ideals. Do I think that would be the exact action I took? No. Do I think I would seek advice and input? It has certainly led me to be more skeptical of seeking aid from those above me in the future in general.
Thank you for the answer. Just to clarify that nuance, would you consume another chantry to empower your patron spirit?
No, I do not think that action is in the best interest of the patron spirit, my house, or the order, or the mages, indeed, our community of mages in general.
Thank you.
So, as you mentioned before, there will be Stephen will get up from his chair near the tribunal. There will now be a brief recess while the tribunal prepares to summon Hermes so that he may weigh in. After that, there will be some brief comments, not questioning, but comments regarding the character and the deeds and any personal input anybody has on the situation. From there, the tribunal will make their decision.
Hannah will nod respectfully.
Nicodemus will look at Stephen and at the tribunal and he says, if your question is truly, am I an oath breaker and did I break the codes of Hermes? There is indeed an additional simple test. Stephen bears a wooden dirk fashioned from a piece of the world tree by Nidhogg himself and gifted to me. That dirk causes excruciating, brutal damage to oathbreakers. For those who are not oathbreakers, it is a wooden dirk. And he will turn and he kind of opens his robes up, exposing his chest, and he says, if you truly want to know whether I broke the oaths, see if a wooden dirk pierces my ribs.
This will be considered during the recess. So yeah, we will actually take like a brief little break. If anybody needs to get up, get a drink of water or anything, go ahead. We'll,
She'll
reconvene.
quickly ask if Steven's around. She'll ask if she was out of line.
No, that was the time to ask questions and stuff. You
Gotcha.
had questions?
Okay, no, but that's it.
Yeah, you guys need to get something to drink, use the restroom, whatever. Go ahead.
Roger that.
Character questions for me, I'll be around. We'll get back started in like, say 3 minutes.
Okay. Interesting situation.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, I've wanted to run a tribunal since like it became an HST. So thanks, John.
Well, we can't say I don't do things large.
Right?
So about me walking outside and calling up a gut. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. If nothing else, I wouldn't be able to get him back inside. They'd probably check him as a weapon.
I mean,
I'm sorry, no gods allowed unless we ask you to come. Aww.
Please put your deity in the box.
Please put your
sitting in
pocket-
the box.
But it's a pocket deity. I don't give a shit if it's. I don't give a shit if it's a pocket fleshlight. It ain't coming in.
Jesus.
Those you only have to worry about if there's a cult of ecstasy around, then it's foci.
Oh, God. Well, actually, that's a funny question. What is the Greek deity of justice?
I think
Lady Justice.
doesn't Athena have aspects of justice aside?
Athena had wisdom. She could be called on to adjudicate things, but that's not necessarily the same thing as justice. I bet you there was a patron of it.
It's possibly it's either it's Astia.
Dike. Or Dyke. Astrea? Wait.
Astrea.
Yeah, Astrea.
Astrea is she is associated with the Greek goddess of justice, which is Dyke. I don't know how the pronunciation is there. I'm trying to find it. But yeah, that is a demigoddess. It's one of Zeus's kids.
Dike.
That's how it's pronounced.
Or Dice.
And in the sense of socially enforced norms and conventional rules. What about maybe law would be the god of law?
I mean, the god of justice is also a thing, but okay.
There's lots of gods of justice, so I mean...
There's so many gods. It's just the ones that we know of are just the most well-known.
We could call up Tyr the Even-Handed. I mean,
That could go well.
There's
Well,
a Titan.
To be fair, Lord
be-
Justice also comes under Zeus himself.
There's the Titan Themis. There are gods, there are titans, eldritch beings, and unknown things.
Yeah, I'm not sure the trickster god is a reliable witness.
Well, he's not just the trickster. I mean, he's also mostly the messenger of the gods of transportation and communication.
Yes.
Trickery just comes along with the fact that you have all the passageways open to you of the universe.
Well, he's also got a thieves, so you can steal stuff. They call up at your trial.
Oh, the new Mage Tarot came out,
Oh no shit.
but it's only in French right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was.
Spanish, French, and Italian.
Yeah, I think they did some like secondary language Kickstarter stuff for them.
I mean, I could always ask this
I've been-
guy to attend.
I've been looking for V5 because I know it launched today, but I don't know if it launched for public sale or only for pre-orders.
So I meant to Google
There's
search
that moment.
Zarvargo, and
Sorry.
I meant to Google search Zarvargo, and I accidentally imaged it. For some reason, like one of the pictures was like the main character from Overlord. And it was captioned, "The ride never ends, fuck boys." I feel
That's good. That's going to be the new poster Tiger's going to have hanging up somewhere.
kinda.
So can we
So
have,
wait, Hermes didn't come in on like a bus on a truck that said, "Oh my God, that's a long link."
I'm sorry. That's not how I intended this. 1 second. Ignore that.
Oh, the laws of entropy, Tiger. Don't worry about it.
That's what happens when you botch a data and entropy throw.
Kinda.
so can us craft people have a small talk huddle while they've got off for the break.
The two
Sure.
of you?
So, what do you
The two of us. Oh, there's three of us. There's three craft people.
Yeah, most of the PCs. Yeah. What do you think, Adib?
I'm confused.
I'm a bit confused as well.
He
I-
killed one person, yes?
Yes.
All right.
Did
Did he... Wait, he killed his own teacher?
Or the master of the Chantry. I think possibly his teacher. I think.
Hmm.
And he was.
He bargained with that thing we encountered? Pride?
Yes, apparently.
I thought we agreed that was a foolish thing.
Well, yeah, clearly it was.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if that's quite the same as bargaining with demons, but it feels pretty close.
As you say demons, the demon hunter arrives. That's how it works. No one expects Xavier's Inquisition. Not even Xavier.
For he
Where
was the
we-
Inquisition.
He kind of is. Where are we / what are we doing now?
Okay, so essentially what has happened at this point is Tiger's about to find an actual link to that picture. Bam. I came up when I looked for Zarvargo earlier. But so the tribunal's going. Questions have been asked. Charges have been placed down. He has pleaded not guilty, essentially. He's defended his position and offered to call up Hermes to see if Hermes thinks he violated the code of Hermes. So we are currently in a brief recess while the tribunal summons up Hermes and is going to ask him for his opinion.
Why?
Fuck it.
Because fuck it. Okay, valid.
We're making small talk on how we think it's going.
I mean, John actually put up a pretty good defense, like, to be fair, but there were some other questions that kind of put some questions in, at least in my opinion.
As Nathan put it, good job defending the indefensible. That was actually pretty good.
Xavier will kind of he will come back. You know, when somebody's vaguely grey until they decide that they're actually there again. That's totally what will happen. And he'll just be standing there, kind of, nodding along. He'll have been nodding along with conversation. That's just the best explanation.
I have to
Right,
ask.
so when's the blood coming? It's not coming? Okay, I'll just sleep.
I have to ask. Does Xavier just like by default unconsciously incorporate entropy into everything he does?
No, he actually doesn't have entropy. He's not entropic at all.
Not yet. He's
I was going to
Give it
say maybe not deliberately.
It's just
This is what happens when half your face is eaten by the abyss. Bad things happen. Moving on.
See, the abyss eats you. I eat the abyss.
It's all
That
good.
works out.
There
What
was
were you
one
saying,
thing that would probably into Xavier that would have gotten his attention.
Uh-huh.
So, Dude Man Nicodemus said that he destroyed the Chantry, or fed the Chantry essentially to the totem spirit of House Diadne. At which point, Lady Diadne stood up and was like, "That's weird." Basically said, "Hey, what spirit were you referring to?" And Nicodemus said it is a name that those of us in the traditions have heard time and time again, and has been a figure in our history, the Ascension Warrior Halo.
So I didn't hear the last bit. The ascent, but
The Ascension Warrior Halo.
oh god. Okay, there'll be a moment while Xavier just checks himself. No, I didn't forget. No, I left all my guns at the motherfucking desk. Why didn't I bring the emergency gun?
I need to fit my I-beam lasers next
I
time.
need. Oh my god! Hashtag next project.
I give him horrible ideas. Shit.
I know you do, but no, he'll nod back into the conversation and he'll say, "In all reality, there is no point in this pageantry. One way or another, he ended a man's life. That is what he should stand trial for. Whether Hermes thinks what he did was in keeping with his code or not, that is irrelevant. He still ended a man's life."
OOC, did they actually? I thought it was clarified both in character OOC. Who threw the first shot in that fight?
It was, in fact, the dude who is now dead.
Okay.
Makes absolutely no difference to Xavier. Somebody is dead. You still have to answer for the crime of killing them.
yeah, and it's also worth clarifying that when a Hermetic Master throws a bookcase at you, he's not trying to kill you.
And the reason why the Master may have attacked was because he was Nicodemus phrased it as he wanted to get guidance on a candidate to sacrifice to pride, a Verbena mage to sacrifice to pride, so pride doesn't spread throughout the city further. In the sense of someone someone letting themselves be possessed by pride or something like that.
To which the Hermetic Master's response was basically, "But why though?"
No, then there could at least been a dialogue.
Yeah, his response was basically no, and
I'm
also
just trying to murder you.
no.
Yeah, I wonder how the Verbena felt. Like, what was the Verbena's face when that came up?
He is the one that is completely covered by brown robe, so you can't tell what his face is. The Verbena in the crowd looked a little angry though.
So basically, he has the robe. I have a really cool robe. You don't know what I'm thinking.
Basically, the only thing you can see
Oh my
is one.
god. I was gonna say we all need to have. Wait, no, I kind of do have the. I have a really cool robe. You can't tell what I'm thinking, but I also have a mask. So I'm just like,
Yeah, but all perception. What was he thinking?
Wow, that's an aura.
Actually, I might have Hannah have a robe now with a hood that like shadows her face, so she looks all mysterious.
But
I have a veil. Does it count?
in all reality, We are now just arguing semantics, but this is the traditions. We'll argue semantics and kill him in a few hours.
So I think we were having this small talk. I'm surprised they've not made more breaking the rule of shade. Is that not a thing? I don't quite understand.
That was incorporated in the recklessness charge.
No, I'm IC talking with my people. The craft huddle is making small talk.
That's my bad. Oh, Xavier,
Mhm.
as far as you can tell, your representative on the tribunal is some unholy mixture of a steampunk, like, scientist and a big game hunter.
Does this mean we have to go and invent comedically oversized rifles / elephant guns and go to the savannah?
Why wouldn't we have them?
He's Hemet Nessingwary, basically.
So he's Van Helsing?
That is Van Helsing is my character's avatar. That's
Yeah,
how much
but is it Hugh Jackman?
Yes, it is Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing. No, it's a mixture between Hugh Jackman and Anthony Hopkins. There we go.
That's fair. I love him.
That's terrifying.
But Xavier will contemplate. Actually, Tiger, should I make a lore? Because I have like the relevant lores. I've got like Nor Lafondi. I think I've got lore infernalism and all that other good stuff to identify the spirit entity that he's talked about.
I mean, you can. Like, you would know what Halo did. I'm just giving that to everybody who had either Order of Hermes or Traditions lore, which I believe Xavier does. He doesn't.
Yeah, he does. He does have Traditions lore.
Yeah, so you know who Halo. Like, Xavier knows in character who Halo was and what he did.
Mm-hmm. And so he basically said, "I fed him the chantry."
Yeah.
Oh god, that's really bad.
He also clarified that he wasn't, that he's changed names and visages over time based on what he eats.
Yes.
Does that mean he's going to show up in Hogwarts Wizard Robe because he just ate a fuckload of hermetics?
Nah, he's showing up as like a holy angel covered in armor.
Tiger, I think I have that picture if you want it.
Would you mind sending that to the mate's chat?
So, actually, out of curiosity, like, what is the general kind of feel of the, like, how is the crowd? Like, I mean, are people kind of hostile? Because a lot of stuff that wasn't liked was thrown around. So what are people's general kind of demeanor now that they're just kind of milling around bullshitting?
There is a group of the Order of Hermes that have been, like, staying together, that have been, like, they seem to be on his side, but a lot of people seem, if not angry, probably upset that all of this is happening.
Tiger, just a brief yet really important note in that case. Using his ocular camera, because he's got an ocular computer, I just want to save images, like beep, 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 of each one of the Order of Hermes that are in that little clique, so I will have a picture reference of their faces.
Great. Can't even have a tribunal without the NSA.
By the way, does everyone here know what Halo did, just for context?
Oh, so yeah.
It might just be best to just say it for the class, just so we are all on the same page.
Basically, in 1470, he was the leader of the first Cabal, and he abandoned and betrayed their location to the Order of Reason. And the reason why he claimed to do this, because he thought that the traditions could never be truly unified without a direct threat right in front of them. The Cabal was not just captured; they were, like he thought, they were killed, because they'd rather fight to the death than be captured. And one of the members was tortured to death in captivity. He claimed that he fled the battle with the intention of reporting it to the council to provoke them to action. But what's his name? An individual by the name of Salonikas escaped. So basically, eventually he was tried. he rejected that he had become a Nefandis, returned to infernalism, which were some of the claims laid against him, and he was sentenced to Gilgul.
And then some other asshole showed up like a while later.
97.
Yeah, claiming to be reborn or something.
Oh, we're after the aside. That's good. We're after the Ascension Warrior plotline, are we?
Yes.
Right. Okay. That's. I haven't connected that. I read the novel. Okay.
I need to like write up like what this setting is exactly. My apologies on that.
So that's fine.
Yeah, a future fates could be cool.
Xavier kind of strokes his breath. Oh,
Sorry, I got a question. Okay, never mind. You answered.
Xavier kind of strokes his breath mask, and he'll say, "One way or another, if this entity is indeed in consorting with infernalists and infernal spirits, then he will be dealt with all the sooner."
It is at this point that the tribunal members will walk back in, except now including the man in the furs who has pretty well been identified as a body representative. He will not take his seat, but instead walk up to Nicodemus and say, "May I ask you to scooch back a little bit?"
He'll step back.
Need space for this. You understand. He will fall on his knees, chanting in a language that nobody here understands. And a little bit afterwards, a large olive-skinned man. Like when I say large, like the proportions are clearly thin, built for sprinting more than raw power. It's just he's physically much larger than the average guy. Kind of like in Dark Souls when you're facing like up against the god. They're like literally twice your size, but they have the same proportions. Will arrive wearing a helmet with little wings on, dressed in a brown tunic, and sandals. He'll arrive on one knee, slowly rising up. Turn to the young man in front of him. "Why has this one summoned me?" And the young man will respond, "This one wishes for your input on this case. The man behind you has been accused of breaking the order, or breaking the Code of Hermes, among other crimes, and we wish for your input, Honorable Hermes." As real quick, as Hermes seems to take us to think how he's going to phrase things. Okay, nobody's gonna react to it. Cool.
I'm just
sorry,
I'm just
what were we meant to
watching
react to? I didn't hear you.
We're meant to react to something.
Hermes is building up.
Oh.
And we'll just have her eyes widen, back in her chair. That's about it.
Xavier is slightly
Popcorn
disappointed.
is
This
bad.
means the murder will take longer.
Out of character, I missed the part before. Nobody's going to react to that.
Oh, Hermes. It's just Hermes showing up. He's a very large olive-skinned man, built for sprinting, wearing a brown tunic, a helmet with the little wings on, and sandals.
Jojo's not going to react to it.
Or there's like one young kid that's like, "Whoa, Hermes!"
Yeah, there is one, and he quickly gets dope slapped on the back of the head.
I just have this great image of that guy who froths at the mouth in Avatar: The Last Airbender and then falls over.
Hey, it's Sophia. I want to hear telephone references, man.
Hermes looks around. This one has been shown the events. What has happened? From Nicodemus's point of view, it looks like it's kind of straining him to speak. Like he's not used to manifesting, especially nowadays. Based on my knowledge of the code that your order has penned in my name, he has technically violated second and third. Second in self-defense, and the third as well in self-defense. That is my judgment. And then it'll disappear.
And it just kind of waits to see what the reaction of Nicodemus is and the rest of the tribunal.
What's the... Actually, no, this would be in character. Adib's just going to kind of lean over to... well, I guess the only other people there would be Sophia and Kim's character. Just be like, what's the third one?
Sorry, I should have said the second and third precepts. My bad.
Well, no, then in that case, insert, what's the third precept?
Tell me that code.
Trying to find the cards.
Shrug.
Where's the damn code?
If you have the revised Order of Hermes, it's
I'm looking at it.
page 45, 44.
Thank you.
Second is through action or inaction endanger the order, consort with devils or the undead, or anger the fae. Third is shall not deprive any order mage of magic power, nor through action or inaction attempt to bring harm to an order mage except in justly declared and open certamen. So I think anger the fae and through action bring harm would be the two key ones that they're keying in on.
He did specify that they were done in self-defense.
Was Angry the Fae in self-defense?
Technically,
Because it was a
yes.
direct result of his action to defend himself, I believe.
Correct.
Yes. Even the Hermetic, who seems to be not really leading this whole show, but he's acting as the bailiff essentially, will look to everyone. This will be the last time anyone will be allowed a comment. Again, I stress a comment. No further questioning. If you have anything to say about the character or your personal opinion of the situation, now is the time the tribunal renders their verdict.
Fuck it. Xavier will stand up.
We recognize Xavier Rathom of the Society of Aether.
Thank you. Honored Chair. Esteemed colleagues. We must, above all other things, hold to a rationale of reason. Many of us possess great power, the power to bring forth life, and indeed, the power to take life. In this situation, as it is presented to us, a life has been taken, snuffed out. Regardless of the circumstances, the life has been extinguished. Not only this, but great reserves of precious energy that the world does not produce in great amounts. Research and knowledge of centuries past gone for prideful hubris offered to entities whom in their very proliferation spread the possible taint of corruption to all here gathered, to all awakened entities, and those whom service the greater good. We must stand bulwark against the selfish, the soulless, and the mad. So it is I would beg the council, when they make their decision, to contemplate what has been taken, what can never be recreated, what has been stolen from future generations, and the life of a valuable teacher that will no longer guide lights towards enlightenment. I thank you. Neil, sit down.
OC question. Crap. Not trying to delay you guys. I just said it a second ago. Crap. Oh yeah. With regards to the sacrifice, when they were discussing, hey, it's essentially when Nicodemus said in character during that scene, such and such, the verbena. Were they referring to it in the terms of this person is a willing sacrifice, or maybe this person would be willing, or were they straight up talking, let's kidnap this person and make them do this?
He did not specify one. I don't believe.
No, the conversation had not made it that far.
Yeah.
It was literally just, hey, this person could basically be possessed by pride, and it would, yada yada.
Yeah. And then
okay, fair enough. That is fair.
Anybody else have anything they want to say?
I'm trying to think here. Hannah will just simply, she'll raise her hand, speak.
Stephen will say, we recognize Hannah Leroy, the Order of Hermes.
I understand that this new knowledge and power may be under the command or influence of a totem that resembles quite a wound in the history of the traditions. And that while Nicodemus may mean well, I'm very concerned with the consequences of a spirit of such an unknown nature having consumed the power and energy of said chantry that has been destroyed. These consequences could be disastrous. And she just stops. And then she says that's her spiel. Oh wait, one more thing she would say is, and I am also concerned that the conversation of another member of the traditions that the idea is considered of one of the members of traditions to be so casually conversed, this idea of basically having the embodiment of pride, one of the biggest problems of can be considered one of the biggest problems of our kind, enter and embody one of our kind. That's officially it. Adam's done.
Are you guys good for me to?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Stephen will say we recognize Joanne Joyce of the Akashiana.
Jojo will say, he is guilty of breaking many laws, no matter the reason. And he has allowed himself to be corrupted by a sin of pride. For those who wish to see must simply look upon him with the sight of spirits. And it was give me just a second.
Yoga.
Sorry about that. Jojo will say, what did I say already? He has committed crimes. He is corruption in his soul from the sin of pride. And no matter how he words things, he is still guilty of these of breaking these laws. That is all.
Okay. Right. Sophia will rise. Speaking as one who is not of your traditions, it feels to me that a member of your order slaying another member of your order is an internal matter. That should be settled in-house in accordance with your own customs and laws, which I frankly don't understand. What concerns me is the breach of the rule of shade, that exposing magic brings down great peril upon all of us. The location of that chantry, where it stood, was swiftly occupied by the technocracy in both this world and the spirit world because of these actions. It endangers all of us by such activity. I think that would be the matter which concerns us, not of his order.
Is that your
Yes.
final statement? Okay. I didn't want to cut you off or anything.
No,
Sorry.
that's fine. No, I could do super eloquent, but differently.
Stephen will now burn through Nicodemus. By this point, in case that wasn't obvious, the body representative on the tribunal has moved back up to his chair. But Stephen will turn to Nicodemus, saying, "Do you have any final words in your defense?"
I believe I have spoken plenty and thoroughly on both my reasoning and intent. I've blatantly admitted that it was not necessarily a perfect solution, that indeed it was an extreme solution. I stood by that. I accept that what I did was not the most popular, and indeed could be viewed through certain lenses as an unreasonable approach. Any point where I felt that my life was indeed in jeopardy, I acted to minimize the overall fallout to the magic community and to the order. Will not pretend that what I did was entirely altruistic. I did not want to die. I acted for myself. I acted for my house. People had put their faith and trust in me. I acted towards what I believed was the best interest of the order. The order as a whole, as a collection of people and ideals, as a code and a set of laws. I've admitted that indeed some of those precepts I broke. I did them out of what seemed to be necessity. We can say maybe I would not have been killed, but we don't know. He will turn and look at his followers, and then he will turn back to the tribunal, and he will say, I come from a lineage and a society that has guarded the secret knowledges and teachings of House Dine for centuries, since they were destroyed. A house that was destroyed by the corruption within the order. A house that was wrongfully destroyed. Acting as the caretaker of that knowledge, and as one who sought to foster the regrowth of that house. I came seeking support. I didn't seek recompense. I didn't come seeking retribution for past wrongs to a house that I had been raised within. I came seeking to bury the past and to build new and to make the order stronger. And while my course of action may not have been the most ideal, and it may not be the most tasteful, I believe that one way or another, my actions will have succeeded, both in helping to foster this house to move forward and to make the order stronger, one way or another.
For the record, that was just my willpower roll because somebody's talking about a whole bunch of infernalism. My response to my vengeful flaw is, I'm going to kill the motherfucker. But continue.
There's infernalism.
How's the admin?
That would be his point, was that They were destroyed because they were slandered.
Stephen will then nod and say, "It is now time for the verdict of this tribunal. Master Baluting Jang of the Akashiana, how do you vote?" Bao will stand up and say, "I find Nicodemus guilty." And he'll sit back down. Madam Anastasia Lucio of the Cult of Ecstasy, how do you vote? The woman holding the long cigarette holder will stand up. "I find him innocent." I will continue on this way. The Order of Hermes, the Verbena, and the Thanatos will find him guilty. The Celestial Choristers, the Virtualettos, and the Etherites will find him innocent, at least their representatives will. And it will
Judgment.
come down to the representative.
You broke up hardcore there, Tiger. I lost like the last 2 sentences.
It will come down to the Kavadi representative, who will simply rise, walk forward, and say, "My judgment can be biased by many things. For instance, I hold my faith in the spirits. Hand me that dirt."
Out of character, Tiger, what did he say?
Hand me the dirt. The wooden dirt.
The wooden dirt.
I assume Stephen is taking care of that since he's got the stick.
Yeah, Stephen will walk forward, hand the man the wooden dirt.
I can find the stats for you, but I believe it was egg +2 against Oathbreakers or Undead.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna go with that. That's fine. So, stay up. With this dirt, the gods will render judgment. He will reach forward and the slave. And Nicodemus 5 aggravated damage as the dirt cuts through his chest effortlessly and into his ribs.
Test.
You are audible.
Okay, because you just the only thing I heard from you, Tiger, was "I find Nicodemus," and then nothing.
That was a while back. I think you disconnected for a while.
Oh shit, did I? Fuck.
I heard
God
all.
damn.
No, I'm saying Kim did. I heard everything else you said.
Oh,
It ended
Yes,
with him taking 5 ag.
then the guy was, I think, contemplating what he was going to say next.
the Nidhunter has judged you guilty, Nicodemus. He'll remove the dirt, hand it back to Stephen. and he'll stop. He'll turn around. He'll go back up to the tribunal. It's very true.
I trusted you, steampunk bro. We would have gone and hunted elephants together. Then you betrayed me.
What were the ones who voted yay and nay? The Kavadi was the tiebreaker. I know that.
The Akashiana, the Order of Hermes, the Verbena, and the Thanatos voted guilty. The Cult of Ecstasy, the Celestial Choristers, the Virtual Edifs, and the Etherites voted innocent.
Do they pronounce sentence now, or what's the spool?
They look like they're discussing amongst themselves. I was kind of hoping people would just kind of react from character to stuff.
Oh, sorry. Xavier will kind of nod approvingly, you know, kind of sitting amongst his peers, being like, yes, totally deserve it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All Jojo does is an eyebrow raise.
And it just seems kind of pensive.
The Order of Hermes representative will stand up. And say, as it is the Code of Hermes that have been violated, I will carry out the sentencing. For your crimes against the traditions, against the law of shade, against the sleepers, against the code, we sentence you to death.
Jojo will raise her hand. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what of his soul?
You're referring to the possible corruption, but
I am.
The entity whom he dealt with was never cleared of its possible infernal and nephandic connections.
this is a valid point. Now, along with the ecstatic and the virtual added, like, Jojo, you've known Bao for a very long time. Hannah, you've known Bao for quite some time now.
Yes.
He does not, like, typically he has a very just stoic look on his face. But he looks slightly horrified at that idea.
What idea? I'm sorry, my computer keeps cutting out.
At the suggestion of possible guilt, or the implication of it.
What's his aura like?
Sorry? I had two people talking at once.
Well, you go ahead, Solon.
Sorry, on my end, I thought I spoke like a full minute after you or something. I'm sorry. No, that never mind. I was just. You said it was the reaction was to the possibility of his corruption, not his guilt, right? Because the Akashics already voted for guilty.
The implication that the punishment should be Gilgolding.
Ah, okay. I misheard.
That's
What's
okay.
his
My
aura?
voice is starting.
What's his aura like?
Bows.
Yeah.
Furious.
Ooh. Hannah looks, as always, looks very concerned and just kind of, just doesn't really know what to do. So she just kind of lets Destiny take its course. She just kind of looks to Bao and just kind of acknowledges his anger. Just kind of gives him a nod.
Coincidentally, I am right in the sense that it was never actually cleared of having nephondic or demonic leanings the first time around, right?
It was more than that. He was actively found guilty of it.
Yes.
It was not clear. He was actively found guilty. He just denied it. He was quite.
Pride that we came up with pride as a demon?
No, he's dealt with the great betrayer, who was tried for being infernal.
Ah, gotcha.
And also he professed to be a deity, which is also an infernalist by law.
You're welcome to tell her that.
Jojo will just say, let's not go straight to Gilgal. If his soul can be purified of corruption before returning it to the will, it should be done. Out of character, it takes like Spirit 5 to do Gilgal anyways, right?
Takes a lot. Yeah.
It takes a shitload of spheres. Yeah, I mean, because Solon actually once pointed out to me that the Archmage in my game, the Archbishop actually couldn't do it. My response was, he can't. No.
So,
but you get you get mass zombie cast. That's how they did it with the Great Betrayer. They got a lot of mages in together.
It requires per book Entropy 5, Mind 5, Crime 5, and Spirit 5 at least.
So she looks to actually she'll look to Jason. A Gilgal may be easier than purification of the spirit, but in theory it would take the same spears, just with a different intention.
Jason's just kind of looking at Jojo like, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess technically, but
I was just kind of looking at Jojo, kind of like,
If I may, Xavier will say, my concern is not for the avatar, which we could tell if it were inverted or not. My concern is that through his dealings with the Great Betrayer, there may be matchments, connections between the soul of Mr. Nicodemus and the entity with whom he dealt. So, upon his death, it would be a simple matter for an infernal being to snatch control of his soul. It is simple enough to verify if this is in fact the case. Before we move forward.
Jojo will say, there is no doubt of the connection of his soul to the sin of pride.
Then his soul is over. Then the next question is his avatar inverted?
I do not have the spears to detect that. Until look to the tribunal.
the seed of spirit, the Kavadi, of course, will rise. And I'm going to do rolls real quick.
I have actually no idea what it would be to physically check an avatar for inversion. I'd assume it'd be spirit and mind.
It would, well, to see an avatar, it's mind 3, prime 2, spirit 1. So just with those spheres alone, you could probably tell.
Spirit
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, spirit 5 is not necessary.
That's part of the problem with Nefandi is they can hide the fact that they're Nefandi.
Yeah, but that's only Nefandi, not actual infernalists, isn't it?
No, that's full-blown Barabi. Or Vidishlashte.
Yeah. Hard to see the dark side is.
Fuck Vintage Losh and all that they love.
So he'll chant a little bit. He seems to be praying in that strange language. And his eyes will glow, suddenly start to glow with like a milky blue. Not a milky white, but a milky blue kind of glow. And he'll walk down and look Nicodemus in the eye. And it almost hurts to like look directly into that glow. But after a few moments, he'll the glow will disappear. He'll blink a couple times as he readjusts and say, "I can sense no inversion or corruption to his avatar."
Xavier nods, at which point he's going to say that, because Evan cannot do this deadpan enough to actually do how Xavier would do it, he'll say, because this character is just emotionless, he will say, "Then the matter is simple. We destroy the lower soul, thus preventing it from being fed to the abyss, and we keep the avatar to send it on to its next host."
Hannah looks like her eyes are really wide at that. And she's going to take a look at Master Bao.
He's still looking really well. He looks slightly less mad now that the avatar is going to be reincarnated, but he's still not super happy about it.
Nicodemus just will look at them and he'll say, "So you say it is not my other that is tied to this pride, but the, as he refers to it, the lower soul."
Correct.
He'll look at the one who had summoned Hermes. Then, my suggestion, and he will gesture to his house followers, and he will say, "My followers and I will aid you in laying a spiritual trap upon my soul. And I will return to Pride, fulfill my deal by giving him a single mage in which to reside. At which point," and he will look at the rest of the council, "your hanging doom would enact, thus ending my existence."
In your final moment, offer to sacrifice yourself for the rest of us. Correct?
He looks at it and says, "I made an agreement to provide a single mage host, thus preventing all other mages from being a target. I will do that, and I will fulfill that agreement." And he turns and he gestures with his cane towards the house, his followers behind him, and he says, "Because I owe it to them, as I've done everything else, I will do this to protect them as well." And then he'll look at the Hermetics and he'll say, And I would ask that you remember Didne was accused of infernalism. They were accused of infernalism by House Tremere, a house that we now know was already corrupted by vampires and in the process of corrupting the rest of the order. Consider how strongly you wish to hold to that accusation when there is a house full of acolytes, a potent and established chantry, including a wellspring and sanctum, and the texts of lost practices, waiting for you to welcome it back.
Tiger, I have to ask a question. How many of these new Diedne are there in terms of the ones who were sitting aside?
There are about 25.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's been brought up, like, in this scene.
No, so
What has been brought up in the scene?
Tremere's thing.
okay,
So the Tremere thing isn't true.
No, the fucking, their accusation of the Edne being infernalists.
no, that's not my point. He said the Tremere were corrupted before it happened, which is factually incorrect. So I'm asking if that pings on the ring of truth. Because Tremere was embraced in 1022. That was 10 years after the war. That's wrong. Oh, so
He is actually.
Yeah.
I've just learned a valuable life lesson, which is when Nathan tells me Order of Hermes bullshit, just nod along because he's generally right.
in fact, Clan Book Tremere says the Tremere may have become vampires.
Wait. Let Tiger talk.
Nathan, shut up. Thank you.
Is that what it says in Ars Magica? Is that what it says in the Order of Hermes?
No, that's Clan Book Tremere. That Clan Book Tremere suggests the Tremere stole secrets of blood magic off the deity, which they used to become vampires. If you
Look at top his face is like
if you want the comparison, in Ars Magica, Tremere dies in 862 AD. In Farewell of Darkness, he becomes embraced in 1022. It's one of the big contradictions. 10 years after the Civil War. Possibly they got corrupted by deity secrets.
I personally, that may be what they say, but they're also known liars.
Not only that, is what the Order of Hermes knows. What is for Tiger? What is?
Sorry. Back on topic. My topic is he made a claim about what happened. Did any of that ping? Was he said it was known they were corrupted before? Was that a true statement in his head?
Yes.
Fine. Okay. Well, that's all we know then. Okay. My cat doesn't know anything, but he said the truth. The truth is he knows it. He claimed they were corrupted before. Okay.
If it please the council, Xavier will say, standing up and leaning on his cane as he kind of limps forward a little bit, he'll say, I have confronted many essences and many entities from the abyss. I would recommend that more research is done into this entity masking itself as pride before we move forward. And the plan, as suggested by Mr. Nicodemus, is admirable and shows the willingness to sacrifice himself for greater good. However, before we enable this spring trap to snap closed, we must be armed with all the information we have, as if we do this haphazardly, the demon may be strong enough to overpower us all.
Jason will raise a hand at this point. I mean, if it helps, like, I fucking blasted it a few days ago. I'm pretty sure it's still a little bit weakened by that. Might not be able to do stuff at full strength, but yeah, we should definitely check it out before moving on with this.
Nicodemus will say, wouldn't a safety net then of a hanging, severing of the avatar, should the doom fail to bring about my demise, sever the avatar, and he is stuck in a mortal body with no power.
However, you would then break your agreement with him.
My agreement was to provide a mage. By inviting him, I have provided the mage.
But if you know that by the time he inhabits your body, you will no longer be a mage, then you will have broken your covenant.
I would be a mage when he inhabited it. I would cease to be a mage shortly after.
There's a shrug.
Jojo will say, "Oh, this is an important discussion. I believe that it should be held by the members of the tribunal."
The Seed of Spirit will say, I will provide the effect. We will move on to the plan. Then the rest of the tribunal will step out. Alrighty, will, with the assistance of the House DNA members, because they actually do share practice, weirdly enough. It will instruct Nicodemus to lay down on the floor.
He follows instructions.
Really important question. Before this happens, can we have our weapons back, please?
Like, he's not going to call Pride here and have the deal done here.
Oh, valid.
You'll get your weapons when you leave.
I thought he was just going to be like, sup, Pride? We're going to be like, oh god, none of us have a gun! Run away!
I'm just going to hand wave the ritual, because it's getting late, and I'm tired.
Nicodemus gives Stephen a bag of acorns as well and asks him to continue to plant them.
Okay. I'll take the acorns. Ritual will occur. We'll help Nicodemus up to his feet and say, I'll accompany you to Pride. Make sure it goes through.
He just kind of nods. And then he does look at him and say, I suggest you, when we approach you, at least stay a few steps back, lest he misinterpret my agreement and see it as an invitation to move on you.
No, he'll lead you out to the car.
He goes with.
Where did you say you'd meet it?
At the tree.
Of course. I'll go to the tree. We'll drive to the tree, rather.
As they're driving, he'll say, perhaps you want to see if you can locate Percival. He may be going by the name Blackthorn now, but with instruction, It's possible he could be more than just a hedge sorcerer.
Is that the one you sent to the northern boroughs?
It is.
I think they left him in Jason's custody.
It is possible that he is perhaps my one failing of House Didney.
Oh, Cork and Eyebrow.
I let personal rivalry and family rivalry interfere with the potential.
Oh no.
Listen, we get to the tree, and I pretty much am going to start heading up immediately.
I'll head up. Pride will be awaiting.
Before they get up, he hands Jason. It's Jason, correct? Who's with him?
Stephen is with him.
Stephen. He hands Stephen the his cane, and he says, "I suggest you hold on to this as well. It's a sympathetic link back to the wellspring, if you use such magics. If not, it's a nice-looking walking stick."
Good to know. He'll stop you before you go. I don't agree with the actions you took. I can understand the feelings behind them. And he'll offer a hand.
Nicodemus looks at his hand, and then he says, "You might want to pass on that handshake. You'll need your full strength up here."
Fair enough.
I didn't ask anyone to agree with my actions. I took what I felt was the most appropriate action. I didn't ask anyone else to pay the prices either. Perhaps, yes, I should have coordinated and discussed further earlier. Perhaps next time you and the others will offer more open support and communication as well, so that others feel they can approach you. And he starts up the tree.
Once you reach the top of the tree, that sickly yellow-green being of energy will be waiting. It seems a little smaller than the last time you met it, or saw it, rather.
Nicodemus walks right up to it, and he says, "It is good to see you again, my friend," and he holds out a hand.
Where is the one you have offered? Or are you offering yourself?
Well, you see, it came to my attention, as I was considering offering another, that there aren't any others that deserve it as much as me. And if you're going to have someone, you should have someone who has the pride to recognize their own capabilities. I could bring some patsy in here. I could go recruit someone, drag someone in as a bait or as a sacrificial lamb, but you don't want a lamb. I offered you a mage. And he holds out his hands wide. He says, "Here I am." And he kind of puts his hands in front of him, and he leans forward and he says, "I'm the only mage in the city with the courage and power to tear down a chantry." Who else could I bring?
A fitting vessel. Pride will step forward and, in your final moments, you'll feel what is probably the most painful experience of your entire life, as your soul is ripped apart and separated from your avatar. You can feel, right before your mental vision fades, you can feel your avatar returning to the reincarnation cycle. You hear a cry of anger and anguish as Pride realizes what has been done. This has been another episode of Chaos at London. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching.